How's it going, guys? I'm Mario Armani, broker and owner of Armani Realty. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Dorian, partner and luxury real estate agent with PSR. Dorian, thank you so much for joining me on this video.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure hanging out. Number one, hanging out with
Definitely.
you. And now talking to you about real estate and everything else. Like, I love it.
So this is a little bit different today. Not necessarily a podcast or a video or anything like that. We're just two regular guys that we just wanted to sit down just so you can get a little bit more information about what we do on a day-to-day basis and just get to know a little bit of our personal side.
Okay, let's do it. Off the cuff, baby.
Something different, right?
You know what? I think this way people can really get to know us.
Yes.
I understand that. I think when you're starting to do real estate and you're an agent, everyone knows you understand real estate.
Yes.
Like, we have the sales to show that. But getting to know us as people, I think that's why, and I know for myself, and I'm very confident in you as well, people use you because they like you and they like your lifestyle and,
yes,
and they understand you. That to me is very important. I think this video is going to be a good representation on who we are, especially personally, because, you know, as one of my mentors always says, you know, you're shopping with friends, right? That's
Absolutely.
the best way to buy a house. And even to sell a house, when you have someone that knows the market, but you can relate to them and speak to them on a personal level, it's just so different.
Because you feel confident and you trust them, right?
Exactly.
And you're comfortable with what it is that they do. If they say something, they're going to understand, they're going to believe you. So it's a whole different situation when, let's say, you're dealing with a stranger. So
exactly.
Definitely something great. And partly this video is not necessarily something we're doing for views or anything like that. And that's the problem I feel with social media in general. Everybody's doing something because they want something out of it, right? So it just never made sense to me.
I think social media, so I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite here.
Okay.
Social media to me, and how I look at it, is an online business card, an online resume. I look at it as, like, you know, I show my golf, my tennis, my working out, my real estate, my wine, my art, my design. These are all things I love.
You're like the most interesting man in the world, right?
I'm like a 90-year-old. I'm a 90-year-old in a 27-year-old body.
I know exactly what you feel.
Exactly. So, you know, I show my life.
Sure.
But to me, I use it as a business card, right? When you meet clients, or you meet a new friend, or you go out for dinner, you meet someone, first thing people are doing, like, you think they would go on Google and Google you? No, they don't do it. They're going straight to your Instagram to see, who is this guy? Right? And, you know, we post sales. Every realtor posts sales, which is great. You have to post the odd sales so people understand you're active. But when you post yourself and, like, your interests, there's just a different bond.
Not to mention that the social media strategy that you have is, I have to say, completely different than almost any other agent out there, because you're not doing things, again, for the views. You're literally posting it because it's something that you're doing, or something that's happening in your life, or something that you're doing at the current time.
Yep.
And you're not really doing it with that intention of getting views or anything like that. It's almost like you're letting and keeping your people up to date with what it is that you're doing.
Yes, and that's what it is, right? Like, at the end of the day, our business is very much being top of mind.
Yes.
Right? And top of mind doesn't mean just sold, just listed, market update. Like, that's just not me. That's not who I am. Of course, I'm going to put the real estate on there because that's 99% of who I am.
And it's your job.
It's my job. But, you know, putting my wine interest, me golfing, like, these are things that I'm very passionate about and I love.
Favorite wine right now?
Oof, Sassicaia.
Okay. I've never tried it. You're going to have to invite me over for a bottle then.
It's very good. I like Opus One.
Okay.
Opus One.
That's a very, very, very nice wine.
It's spectacular.
Very nice wine.
But I actually tried, I believe it was a 1958 white wine. I don't remember. It was from France, and it was at Jacob's. We tried it there, and it was insane. It started turning yellow.
Wow.
It turned into like a dessert wine. It was incredible.
Do you find that white wine is always a little bit better? Like, again, a lot of people have it chilled. I like to pour it, and I like to let it sit for like at least like 20 minutes and have the temperature drop a little bit. To me, it just brings out the flavor of the wine so much more.
Yeah, I'm not much of a white wine, so I'm the wrong guy to talk to.
Okay.
But red wine,
yes,
I decant appropriately. Yes. I make sure the bottle's the right vintage to drink. Like, I'm very, I wouldn't say crazy like that, but I am.
No, but you're gonna drink it, and you're gonna drink the wine, so it actually, so you're getting the full benefit of it.
Exactly.
Okay, I totally understand. But no, I really admire what it is that you do, and why I kind of say that is because I've been in the business now 19 years, and obviously you have an image that you've kind of set for yourself, and I have an image that I've set for myself. And I even if there's a lot of newer realtors that are watching this, I think that they're not really conscious of how it is that they portray themselves online. Because like you said, people don't necessarily Google you. They'll take a look at your social media.
Yes.
So whatever you're kind of showing people is what people are going to realize that you are, right?
Absolutely.
So like, let's say if you're constantly not dressing well, people are going to have that impression of you, right? So it's almost like you still have to keep up a certain a specific appearance, but at the same time you also have to be yourself. And I think that you've kind of balanced that really, really well, especially in the luxury market, because the luxury market is completely different than the regular market, and people don't seem to grasp that concept.
We had a brief conversation about this yesterday, and it's crazy that we're talking about it today. But truthfully, when you first start out in the industry, right, you have to set an image for yourself.
Yes.
I'm, like I just told you, and I know I joke about this a lot, but I'm really an old soul, right? So from day one, even when I was in, elementary school, I was wearing polos with slacks. Like, I've always been an old soul type of guy, and my appearance, yes, I'll throw on cool sneakers with like a suit, but like truthfully,
you had to point out the sneakers, right?
Yeah, like I got. Listen, the sneakers are fire. But besides that, like, you have to be organic to yourself. So when I first started in real estate, I didn't have the amount of money to go out and buy new suits all the time. But the pieces I did have at home, and I'm fortunate where my family was able to help me with getting nice clothing, etc. I maximized it. I always look put together every single time, and always presentable, right? And now that I've been in the industry for 7 going on 8 years, I'm able to continue it. But obviously now I'm wearing different types of brands, right? But at the end of the day, the essence of my image from day one has always remained the same.
It hasn't changed. And that's very important, because there are a lot of real estate agents who get into the business and they start kind of transacting with these lower level properties, which is okay, but I feel that everybody wants to be in your side of the business, but they don't understand how to get there. And realistically speaking, you kind of went into luxury right away, which also meant that starting off as a realtor was probably 10 times more difficult, because obviously you have to kind of get to know those contacts and you have to transition into that. Whereas, let's say in my case, when I got into the business, I started working with, let's say, first-time buyers and things of this nature. So I was able to kind of get started a lot faster. So I really respect everybody in the luxury industry, because it takes you guys so much longer to kind of start and get into the business, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still deal with first-time home buyers, right? And I really enjoy that aspect of my business. Is it the main focus of my business? No. This is something that I tell a lot of people, because I do get a lot of people reaching out to me on social media saying, "Hey, Dorian, want to become a luxury realtor, what should I do?" And I tell them, I say, listen, if you don't have the contacts and you don't have a way to make the contacts in those areas, why don't you just become an agent that sells so much more volume? Like, if we sold last year like 45 to I think 50 places, give or take. Why don't you be that agent that sells 150 places under $1 million? I got to tell you, that's just as rewarding. And the truth is, in the long run, you may actually benefit a lot more than we would. And the reason I say that is because, we deal with 50 different clients. More, obviously, not everything pans out, but let's say 50 that we did transacted. Out of those 50, let's say you get 75% referrals. We may get 40 referrals from it, okay? But if you're doing 150 deals at the same number, you're getting over 100 referrals.
Of course.
At the end of the day, you're growing a bigger business faster than if you're struggling in a luxury market and trying to get into a market that's not you.
It just depends on what your niche is, who you want to target, who you want to work with. And I feel that as new realtors come into the business, they're just looking to transact, and they're not thinking about down the road, long term, short term. They're just thinking about, how can I do a deal?
Of course.
And that's kind of where the problem is, right? But again, I want to step away from real estate for a little bit, because everybody sees that we're real estate agents. Everybody sees us doing transactions. A big part of this video is I want people to get to know us a little bit. I haven't even thought about questions I wanted to ask you. I'm pretty sure you haven't thought about it at all.
Not even a
thing.
But
let's get to know a little bit about each other, and let's have people get to know a little bit about us.
Amazing.
So what do you like to do? Like, if you had to do one thing, what would it be? Like, for fun?
Golf.
Golf.
I absolutely love golf. I joined a nice club. I golf in the summer 70, 80 rounds a year.
Crazy.
It's just like being outside is so peaceful and so nice. So golf is my number one. How about yourself?
I love golf, but I've never started to play because anything that I do in my life, I'm just crazy obsessive over it. So I know, like I love watching golf so much, like even like Netflix, Full Swing, like I was just glued to the TV.
You're very good.
Yeah, glued to the TV. But I know that if I would start playing golf, it would take over my life.
But that's the exciting part.
Yeah.
Like trying something new.
But you got to remember, I have 2 kids and a wife, right?
Yeah,
a little bit difficult for me because again, I know that not only will I want to play golf, I'll want to be great at it. So I know that I'll be waking up really early in the morning, getting those early morning tee times, going to practice, buying simulators. I'm gonna go crazy.
So you know what? I think you should.
Yeah.
Sorry to Mario's wife. I apologize in advance. I literally just converted your husband.
I'm not a bad influence. Just so you can see, it's Dorian. It's not my fault, but
I have no wife, so it makes sense. Although my girlfriend's very supportive of me enjoying my golf.
I was actually going to ask you about that. So again, that's one aspect, you know what I mean, that you really don't post about. So are you married? Are you engaged? Do you have a girlfriend?
I have a girlfriend.
Fantastic. You've been with her how long?
You know, probably just under a year, give or take.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's lovely.
That's amazing.
I don't post her a lot because, you know, my personal life, like that aspect of my life
is your personal life.
Is my personal life. I feel like when there's too many eyes and too many people looking on it, it's just like too many people get involved. With us, we're both very private individuals in that regards.
And some things are better left private.
Of course. I mean, like at the end of the day, you know, sure, when I'm married, that's a different story, right? But, you know, we're very happy together. We really love each other a lot, and we like the way our balance is amazing.
That's beautiful because at the end of the day, it's something that, like, I'm sure that now as you get older, now you're starting to see different things happening in your life and you can kind of, you know what I mean, start to build that life with somebody. So it's fabulous.
I'm going to tell you something hilarious, and it's not really that funny. Listen, if she's watching this, you're going to love this story. I didn't even tell you this yesterday. So I was at a client's house. They're, let's say, in their 70s. And the whole time they were talking, I'm not even kidding, I think I zoned out, and I thought about me and her sitting on that couch in 50 years.
What a sweet guy.
And I'm just like, that would be really nice because, you know, my clients have such a loving relationship and you can tell that they care about each other so much. I'm like, that is so admirable.
Of course.
Right? You know, in this day and age, you know, every other person is separating or they're divorced or there's issues, right? And I think a lot of it stems on social media, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But when you see something so beautiful and so organic, and then obviously have a girlfriend, like that's your first natural progression is to think you and your girlfriend. I'm like, wow, this would be nice.
Yeah, it's great. I'm gonna touch upon what you just said, and I think people call it quits way too quickly. Like they just don't work at it anymore. Like they just get into a couple of big fights, and it's almost like, well, the grass is greener on the other side, or you know what, to fix this, it's just gonna be way too much work. So I'm just gonna go on to the next one, right?
It's true. Everything in life needs work. Like nothing is easy. Like you want to be successful in work, you got to work. You want to be lose weight, guess what? Got to work. Yeah. You want to have a healthy relationship. Like I got to tell you, you'll never meet, and you know you're married and you have kids. You're gonna fight. It's just the way reality is with personalities. Like I know with me, I'm not stuck in my ways, but I'm very much like. I like things done a certain way, and that's not very easy for people to deal with.
But usually successful people are that way because they have a vision, they have a way that they want to do it, and I still am like that. And one of the things that I've been learning the older that I get is that there are some battles that we have to learn not to fight.
So Jordan,
okay,
my business partner, he literally has the best line of all time. You ready for this?
Ready.
If the juice isn't worth the squeeze, don't squeeze.
He got that from a movie, though.
I don't know where he got it from, but I got to tell you, Jordan, if you're watching this, that's the only line I ever remember that you've told me, and I will never forget it because it's true.
Of course.
If it's something so minuscule and you're fighting over it, like you got to give your head a shake.
Yes.
Like if it's something that you're passionate about, that's different. Then the juice is worth the squeeze. But if it's not, there's no point.
Life is definitely. It's so short. We have to move past those things that take energy from us, and it just goes nowhere.
I agree. I do have a quick question for you. So obviously you're married, you have kids. I think you've built a wonderful life for yourself. How was the transition from obviously being a single man to, having a wife? And did you start real estate pre-wife or post-wife?
No, so I'm 39 now. I met my wife when I was 18 years old.
Okay.
So I've been with her pretty much my entire life. I started real estate 3 years after I met her. She was very supportive. She actually pushed me to also become a real estate agent and get my license.
Thank you, Mario's wife.
I have to say thank you.
What's your wife's name?
Catherine.
Catherine, I want to thank you. Your husband's an absolute gem.
If he says so. But no, it's been very, very difficult. Balancing family and marriage is something, it's been my hardest challenge. And what's hard about it is, like I mentioned before, when I really want to do something, I become very obsessive over it. And I was and still am very obsessed with real estate. Like there's days where I'll start off at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I'm still in front of the computer. But I don't feel like that stress, like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, or I feel just really, really pressured. Like I'm obviously stressed, I'm tired, but I love it. Like if I'm at home doing nothing, I actually feel miserable. I love to work. I love what I do, right? So sometimes it's just gotten to be such a challenge because where I should be spending time with my wife and my kids, or even just some downtime for myself to relax, I just don't want to. I just want to work.
You have to, everyone talks about balance. And I know we had a brief discussion on it.
I think that's a myth, by the way.
Balance doesn't exist.
No.
Like, I understand balance with eating, fine. I understand balance with drinking, great. I understand balance.
Do you really understand the balance of drinking?
I do. I understand those balances.
Okay.
But when it comes to your career that puts food on the table for your wife, for your kids, I don't, and for yourself, I don't believe there is such thing as balance. Like, if you do want to wake up and you work a normal 9 to 5, then I'm very happy for you because that's the lifestyle that you love and you enjoy. And I appreciate people that do that. I mean, if I wasn't in real estate, I'd try to work on Bay Street, right? And I would try to get into that world. At the end of the day, I'm so in love with my job like you. I wake up in the morning. I actually dreamt last night about my job and woke up thinking the exact same thoughts about work. So at the end of the day, you can't really have a balance because I don't have an off switch, and neither do you.
No.
So if people are out there thinking, you're going to get into real estate and you're going to have an amazing balance, yes, you can. But if you want to be ultra successful in this industry, you can't have balance. A client calls me in 20 minutes saying, hey, I saw this place. I want to go see it. Guess what?
You have to go.
I love you so much.
Yeah.
But I'm gone.
Of course.
Like clients first, right?
And that's one thing that I have to say my wife has been and is phenomenal about. She understands that this is what this job entails, and she'll never get upset at me for having to do things. I have to say that in that sense, because a lot of real estate agents don't have good marriages because of that reason, because the amount of time that we do work.
Of course.
She's been super supportive and super understanding. So my success is also because she's stood by me and held down the fort, because when I was out, let's say 4 or 5 days a week, literally 14 hours in the entire day, she's at home taking care of the house, taking care of the kids. And these are things that I'm very grateful towards her for the success, right?
I think it makes a huge difference. When you have a good support system,
absolutely,
it changes your perspective on so many different things. Like even having a good friend that you can bounce ideas off of. All that stuff makes the biggest difference in the world, not just personally, but also in your career as well.
It's funny because we see each other, and it's like we saw each other every day for the last 10 years.
I know.
And all the few times that we connect, we kind of have these in-depth conversations, and it's so different, right? And I kind of really appreciate that relationship that we have, because sometimes you don't want to talk to the people that you talk to all the time.
Of course.
But then you, let's say if I'll call you and I know you'll give me an honest opinion, whether I like to hear about it or not, you're honest with me and you're like, listen, this is the wrong thing to do, or I think you should do this. And it just, those are the things that I appreciate now, especially when you're older, right? Because things change, man.
Yeah, you know what I noticed, and maybe this is just me, the older you get, I feel like people want to sugarcoat things a little bit more, because they're more aware of feelings and perception and all of these topics. But I find with me, the older I'm getting, I'm losing the filter. My filter is actually dropping.
Wait till you're my age. It's gonna get worse.
Hopefully I have hair. That's the hopefully.
If you don't, I have a friend of mine. He just went to a clinic in Turkey.
Okay.
Good as new for 15,000.
Amazing. I'll have these luscious locks forever.
I got you covered, buddy.
I love that. No, but it's true. Like, honestly, like, people have to be really real. And what people don't understand is it's not what you're telling someone. Like, if you ask me a question and I don't agree with you, it's not me saying no that's going to hurt you. It's the delivery.
Of course.
Right? If you say it in a calm manner and a high level, respectful, with a real explanation, you're fine, because the person will respect and understand. But if you're giving me, a question and I just say, no, I think you're totally wrong, and become aggressive and harsh, no wonder you're going to have a bad attitude towards me. It's because of that delivery.
Dorian, what's been your biggest challenge in the last year?
I think the biggest challenge in the last year is kind of managing who I am when it comes to, like, investments, what to buy, where to go travel. It sounds like a thing, but, like, the more money you make, the more, not trouble you have, but the more options you have. Right?
There's more opportunities for you to do different things, and now you have to be selective, right?
Exactly. So that's been a new learning curve for me. Understanding, investments, understanding, higher taxes, understanding a lot of these the situation. That's been a bit of a learning curve for me. But because
there's no book on any of this. Like, that's what a lot of people don't understand. And there's a lot of realtors getting into the business, and I truly believe, as a new realtor, it's always wise to join a very reputable team or to have a mentor, kind of like you did, right?
100%.
And it's something that I tell Dorian all the time, that the way that he started in his real estate career, in his business, I look up to him so much, because it's the way that I would have loved to do it when I first started. Now, when I first started 19 years ago, there wasn't the opportunities that we have now. Like, there wasn't really people mentoring. Teams really didn't exist. Social media didn't exist. It was just a completely different market, right? So what you're doing is something awesome. And the fact that other realtors aren't really paying attention, they're really looking at, well, I don't want to pay this person this, but you go to university and you pay $10,000 a year, and you're okay to do that. But now, if you have somebody teaching you and helping you and kind of guiding you, so you don't have to make all those mistakes. And the mistakes are not just costly because they're mistakes, it's just because of the time wasted. You can literally fast track your business by having a mentor.
So this is something I definitely want to talk about. Like, what people don't see, like, sure, they see my social media, they see my Instagram, whatever, they see all that kind of fun stuff. But the things we don't talk about, like, I have a business coach, I have 2 mentors, and I also have, another coaching program that I'm a part of. So I have essentially 2 coaches plus 2 mentors, okay? My first mentor, when I first started in the industry, taught me the ins and outs on client relations, and taught me the ins and outs of the paperwork, the process, and how to really, not act, but how to really put yourself together into a package, how to present yourself. My other mentor, when I was about 5-6 years ago, is now my business partner. He taught me, how to get into doors, how to open doors that were closed. Client acquisition is something he's so strong at, and he knows how to excel in that. He taught me how to negotiate. I'm not born into money, right? Like, my family always took care of me. We were completely fine. Like, I'm very blessed to have the best family. But I wasn't born, in living in Forest Hill, Rosedale, or that's just a different caliber, a different level, right? So he taught me how to really understand and think like those sellers and those buyers. And now, when I'm meeting them, they always say, they're like, oh, you must come from a little bit of money, like, old. A lot of people say, like, you have a very old money type of vibe. The truth is, I don't. It's just, this is who I am, and I wasn't born in it, but I know how to carry myself and act. But Jordan really taught me how to, put myself in a situation where you understand those clients very well, and it makes it a little bit easier for the client acquisition part.
But that's what I mean. Like, and I said it at the beginning of the video, that you really made an investment. You made an investment in yourself and in your business at the beginning to say, well, I'm not going to be like the rest of all these realtors, kind of getting in there and just kind of like targeting everything, kind of like what I did. I'm going to make this my niche. And you kind of, again, the process was a little bit slower because it's difficult. Like you can't just transact like that from one day to the next, and people don't get that. Like you really have to be put in those situations. You have to sit at those tables. I'm sure you went with Jordan to many listing appointments,
Of course.
just kind of listening to him where he was taking the lead, and it probably got to the point now where you're going there and he's letting you take the lead, right? Because now you're completely on your own, right?
Yeah.
But you really invested into that, and that's where I feel a lot of people, they don't want to make that investment, and not just in real estate, and just any business. Like nowadays, people want to have that overnight success, and it just doesn't happen, right?
You have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your business. Like, something that I did, for example, which ended up panning out very good was, I joined a private country club for golf. Yes, I love golf. It's a passion, so I get to enjoy it, and it helps me clear up my mind. But also on the flip side, like I've met so many wonderful people there that are very good friends and now clients, right? And it's because it's so organic to who I am, right? Being in front of people in ways that you're so comfortable makes a big difference. And it wasn't cheap to do,
Of course.
but I look at it like, I'm young enough now where you could do it. I don't have kids. I don't have a massive mortgage. Like I'm able to kind of do it and see the benefits. And when I'm mid-30s, then you have to worry about other issues, right? But you've already put yourself in that situation where you've met those people and you remember there for, at that point, it'll be almost 10 years for me.
But that's what I mean. Like you've paid your dues, you're continuing to pay your dues. And that's something that people don't get. It doesn't matter if you are kind of at the top. You have to keep being at the top. You have to continue learning, because business in general is evolving. I even think that we evolve. Not that I think, I know we evolve as people. Like we change. Like there's a lot of the things that I love now that I didn't like before, and things that I used to hate before that I love now, right? So I think that we're always needing to be able to grow. We need to be able to learn. We need to be able to kind of think past those things that kind of, you know what I mean, we didn't see before. We have to open our horizons is what I'm saying, right?
I think you do a wonderful job of, showcasing that. What I mean by that is, we don't see each other every day,
Sure.
right? But from what I see on social, you're always adapting, right? Like, you've been in it for 19 years. You don't have to make videos. You just don't. Now you can you can pick up the phone,
Sure,
and you'll get clients. But I love the fact that you're always up to date. You're always adapting. You're always doing things that is revolutionary in my mind, right? Where I wish, and this is something that I lack the motivation to do the videos and the market updates and all that fun stuff that you do. You're very good at it, and I love that you make it such a positive spin.
Yeah, so I don't always love to do it. I've made videos before talking about how I'm actually a shy person. I am an introvert. Sometimes making these videos are a little bit challenging for me, but I do them anyways, because I always think of the fact that I just want to get the message across, and I love the educational aspect of real estate, because there's so much bad information out there that I kind of feel like a teacher, for example, they not necessarily want to be a teacher because they want to make a lot of money, because teachers don't make the best salaries, but they do it because they want to be people to help kids, right? So I kind of want to do these videos to help buyers and sellers. And specifically, I always remember my parents, when they purchased their first home, they got screwed over by their realtor.
Really?
They got really screwed over by their realtor.
I'd love to know what happened, if you don't mind telling me.
It's a long story, but my parents unfortunately didn't speak the language, and the real estate agent put things into the contract, and it was, my parents actually found the home. It was a private deal, and the realtor was doing some funny business, and it was just really, it was a bad situation, and I kind of said to myself, my parents weren't educated. They didn't understand. So if I can go ahead and make these videos and put out this content to have people not go down the same road, then you know what? I'm helping people. So I don't necessarily always want to make the videos, but I do them more for the benefit of the public. And there's a lot of people that do appreciate them. Even people that I don't even transact with. They said, you know what? I had this problem before. I bought with this realtor, and this is exactly what happened, just like you said. But again, I'm not necessarily doing this because I want the views, because I want this business. I'm doing it because I truly want to help that other person.
But that makes a difference, because anything you do, if it's genuine, it just comes across as much more organic. And whether those people use you or not, it doesn't matter.
No.
Because at the end of the day, you're fulfilling your own needs, right? By helping others.
Absolutely.
That's something you aspire to do. That's why you have team members. It makes a big difference.
And I've always done what I wanted to do, no matter what. Like I've never cared, like even like I love fashion. I'm really into fashion, and I have for the longest time worn things that people like kind of they see you and they're like I don't like, what are you wearing? You know what I mean? But that's fine. Everybody can wear whatever they want, and it's funny because all of a sudden, like 2 years later, everybody was wearing what I wore 2 years before.
Of course.
So it's one of those things.
It always works like that.
Like I've never cared about what people think. I've always done what I wanted to do, and whether successful or not successful, I can sleep at night saying that, you know what, I am where I am because I did what I wanted to do, and I didn't really do what everybody else wanted me to do. I never want to fit in. I always just want to do what's good for me.
Do what makes you happy in anything in life.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I don't want to keep this video for a crazy long time, but I want you to ask me one question, and I'm going to ask you one final question, something really deep. I'm still trying to think of what to ask you.
Okay, so I'll just shoot off the cuff here. I'm quick.
Let's go.
So obviously they see a lot of highs in our job.
Yes.
They see a lot of the sales. They see a lot of the traveling. They see the cars, the watches, all the fun stuff. But let's talk about the reality. Was there ever a point in your career when you were just like, oh my goodness, I don't think I'm going to make it. Like, should I consider a new career? Should I like you're worried? Was there ever that point?
You know that mental health is something that I'm a huge advocate. Always. I always talk about it. You were kind enough to join me back in November for the segment that I did for Mental Health Mondays. Thank you very much, by the way.
My pleasure.
And I struggle with this every single day. And the reason why is because I don't rest on my laurels. So I always wake up hungry every single day. So I could have done 100 deals the year before, and I'm always waking up thinking, what's going to happen today? What's going to happen tomorrow? So I kind of use that as fuel. And I think of it on a daily basis where I sometimes feel like, how am I going to make it? Like, how am I going to transact in the next month? Even though I have things going, you know what I mean? I have clients, people are still calling, I have listings on the go, but I always have that feeling. And it's something that I can't get rid of.
You know,
I'm not worried about it, by the way.
No, I know.
It's just something that, like, I use it as fuel and motivation. And kind of the way that I always think is the lion always wakes up hungry.
You have to. But I agree. I mean, that's the side of real estate people don't understand, right? You're still running your own business, and, you know, this is a commission-based business.
Yes.
Right? So you eat what you kill, so to speak.
Yes.
It's harder on your mental state at the end of the day.
The biggest challenge, Dorian, sorry to stop you.
No, please.
It's not necessarily in the real estate aspect, because real estate, I feel like I can manage it. It's my personal life, because I constantly feel like an inadequate father. Just because I don't spend as much time as I'd like to with my kids. It's something that I feel really, really sad about.
So I'm gonna stop you there. I'm gonna put this into perspective for you.
Sure.
What you're doing is setting up their future.
Yes.
So you may feel like that, but your kids are admiring everything you're doing. And eventually, when they're old enough to understand it, they're going to be like, you know what? My father sacrificed in order to give us this beautiful house, in order to put me in the best financial situation, in order for me to get indoors that I normally wouldn't. So I understand how you could feel that way, because you don't see your kids
I also have to be an example. Like,
exactly.
If I go ahead and I show my kids, like, listen, if you work hard and you put your all into something, this is what you can accomplish. Like, it's going to give them that same energy, and they're going to understand that if we work hard, just like our dad did, we could also accomplish our goals and dreams, right?
And that's why I don't want you thinking like that, because
No. It's just something that, again,
I get this. I get it.
I try to be great in everything I do. Every single day that I wake up, I try to be a better realtor, a better husband, a better father. I try to eat better. I try to train better. I want to do everything a little bit better, right? So there's some days, like, for example, yesterday was a perfect occasion where I was at home, my kids were there, but I wasn't mentally there, right? I was just like, my mind was working, my mind was somewhere completely different, right? So these are kind of more of the challenges. They're more on the personal side, or sometimes I won't be in the best of moods, and I may, let's say, speak to my wife in a way that maybe I was a little bit harsher than I should have. Things like that. So that's kind of my biggest challenges, not necessarily with work. So these are kind of the things that I'm trying to slowly work on. I'm actually going to be starting to see somebody on a weekly basis, just because, again, not because there's a problem, just because I want things to be better.
Yes,
and
of
I
course.
think that's what life is about. It's just about getting better in every aspect of our life.
And that's admirable. I'm sure your wife loves it. I'm sure you love it. And
yes.
I wish you the best.
No problem. So now I got to come up with a question for you.
No problem.
What is next for Dorian Rodrigues?
That's a great question. You know, this is a question that it's hard for me to tell you today what's next.
Well, I'm asking you because you said that in the last year, that's kind of been like the challenge, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing that you probably have like a lot of different ideas, and obviously you don't have the crystal ball, but let's just say in a perfect world, if you had to design your future, what would it look like?
I would be running a very strong team. My goal, and this is forever my goal, is to be top 5 and number 1 in my mind in Toronto real estate. That's my goal. So what's next is I'm going to continue working and continue getting in these doors that I want to get into, not letting anything stop me. I don't care if I was born in it, was not born in it. It doesn't make a difference to me. My goal is to always get better. So I'm gonna do that while at the same time, you know, continue building the relationship with my girlfriend. You just never know where that goes, right? And start building, like I want to build a strong future, both financially and with someone. And that way, you know, when I'm in mid-30s and I have a kid or whatever life throws
Baby
at
Dorian.
you, that'd be amazing. Honestly, whatever life throws at you, you have to be prepared. But I want to make sure that I'm putting myself in a good situation and putting, you know, my girlfriend in this case in a very good situation as well, because at the end of the day, as much as I'm doing this for me, I'm also doing this for my future family.
Of course.
Right? Everything I'm building today is to build a legacy. And I know we're not in New York where, you know, you could sell your company and all this kind of fun stuff in real estate, but at the end of the day, in my mind, we are in New York.
Yeah.
In my mind, we're in the NHL of real estate. Like, that's just how I operate. That's how I want to leave a legacy. And I want to eventually start getting on boards of massive companies. I want to be an early investor in companies. So I'm really starting now to understand the concept of money and understand the concept of diligence when it comes to that stuff. So I think for me, what's next is kind of just putting it all together and progressing forward, and each day learning something new.
Somebody that I admire, you mentioned how Jordan said something. So somebody that I admired said something to me that always stuck with me, and he said, life's too short to be mediocre. And I never really understood. I kind of at the time, I thought I understood because I thought it was okay, you know what, because it's about buying a better house or a better car. Yeah. But like now that I'm almost 40, I kind of see it as, well, life is so short, but at the same time, there's so much that we can do. And it's not necessarily about buying a car or a house or a watch, but it's about all of the opportunities that exist out there and how they're at our grasp. It's just up to us to go ahead and make it happen.
Anything is achievable.
100%.
Right? At the end of the day, like, you set a goal, you get it done. And that's, I don't care what you have to do if it's extreme, but life's about setting goals, setting targets. Whether it's you want to be the best husband ever, guess what? Be the best husband ever. Yeah. Everything needs work and time, and I think you could achieve whatever you put your mind to and your energy.
And sacrificing.
Yes, because I believe in energy.
Yes.
To me, so you run with a positive energy, things start to fall into place.
Absolutely.
Right? And treating people well, it'll come back. So
kindness goes a long way.
It really does.
Kindness goes a long way. So for everybody at home, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that you got to know a little bit more about myself, about Dorian. Although we love real estate, we're also people. We have feelings, we have goals, wishes, and hopes. And I hope you got to know a little bit more about me and Dorian. Once again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure, always.
Always a pleasure, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.